Hatcher. It remains a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatcher! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue match preview for our FA Cup game, third round against Sheffield Wednesday at the CBS Arena at the silly time of 6 o'clock. Have no idea why, but we'll delve into that shortly with Mark and James. Before I bring them on, just remember where you can find us, guys. We are available on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe if you're on there. We're also available on podcasts if you just want to listen to us. Please rate us 5 stars. Again, wherever you get your podcast from, Apple, Spotify, iTunes, wherever else. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. His logo's in the corner. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. And we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena. And here at the Tavern, I'm in the manager's office. I don't know if you can tell the difference. At the Sky Blue Tavern in Coventry City Centre. So without further ado, let me bring my first guest in, which is my co-host as always, Mark. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, good evening, Stuart, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much. Before we bring our guest in, James, from the Wednesday Till I Die podcast, how has the FA Cup been for you in recent years? Are you excited about Saturday? How are you feeling?
I think I feel more excited about our league form was better, and we're a bit high up the league, particularly at that win against Norwich. I go into the game thinking, you know what, I'm a bit of a free hit, FA Cup. It doesn't matter if you lose, you've got the league game. I mean, it's still back, but I still feel the league is the priority this season. So, if you offer the semi-final again, you wouldn't say no to that. But I think for me, the league is the priority, and I don't want the cup run to be a detriment to our league form, because the league form hasn't been great this season, to be honest.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what does the FA Cup mean to you? Do you still get excited about it, or is it tempered off slightly?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to the draw, the draw last year, I was thinking, who we're going to get this year? We want to. I mean, James will say the same thing. You want a Premier League club. You want to test yourself against the best teams if you can do. So yeah, it's always a feeling of being a kid in the sweet shop. That feeling of excitement. I think the draw with Sheffield Wednesday is a bit of a meh draw. I think both sides would say that, but it's a good opportunity for either team to progress because I think it could be quite an even game for me.
Yeah, and let's bring James in. Good evening, James. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Mark, for having me on. Sure. Always very appreciated.
It is. No, thank you very much for coming on and joining us. How was your New Year? Happy New Year to you, by the way. Did you have a good New Year and Christmas?
Yeah, it's all good. I've got 2 young kids, so it was chaotic as always. Loads of birthdays, Christmas, New Year, all that sort of stuff. But no, it's good. Lots of football. Some wins, some draws, some defeats, but we are just the mid-table Sheffield Wednesday this season, somewhat.
Yeah, obviously, we're playing you again. We played you 4 times last year with the replay that we had from the 1-1 draw at your place, and then we got you back to our place and beat you 4-1 on our really good run last year to the semi-final, which we still won, didn't we, Mark? By the way.
Of course, yeah. 4-3, good win.
That's right. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the league too much. We'll talk mainly about the FA Cup and kind of what it means to you. So let's delve straight into it. What does the FA Cup mean to you? Do you still get excited, James, or is it tempered slightly over the years?
Do you know what? Like, my earliest memories of Sheffield Wednesday are kind of when we got relegated, so it's kind of 2000 onwards. I was around when we were in the 90s and when we were in the Premier League and when we were a decent side, but all my memories have been, like I said, since we've come out of the Prem. So when you talked about the FA Cup, and especially from a Sheffield Wednesday perspective, people always talk about when we got to the final. All right, we got beat by Arsenal, but we beat Sheffield United in the semis at Wembley. That would have been that was in 1993. That would have been an amazing day and things like that. But since then, we've not really had much of a run in the FA Cup. Certainly not, on like a regular occurrence. It's always been kind of round 4, round 5. All right, we occasionally got into the quarters, but that was back in the 90s again. So since then, it has not. The FA Cup certainly hasn't really been a competition that we've done that well in. From just on the competition as a whole, I feel like. Yeah, it has lost a little bit of its magic, but I think that's come from the top. The top sides don't play their best 11; they rotate the squads, and because of that, it does kind of lose a little bit of its importance. You come up against a good side, and when they're not playing, when all the squad numbers are in the high 50s, they're not their first team players, and it does, even if you do beat them, it does take a little bit of that shine off it, or even if they're still too good for you with their rotator players, you want to see the best ones. Having said that, we don't really get drawn out against any decent sides. I use decent in when by decent, I mean the top Prem sides. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It's always, if we do get a Premier League side, it's one of those down near the bottom. You just get beat, and that's it really. It's a shame that the FA Cup's become like this. I feel like I don't know what they could do. I don't know whether they have to implement some rules like they did in the Pizza Cup, where you have to play so many players that have in your first 11 and things like that. But I mean, I think that kind of devalues it somewhat. I don't know what they need to do, but it is just a shame, really.
Yeah, it is. And obviously they've got rid of the replays, so obviously the game has to be finished Saturday night anyway, which I suppose for our
I don't want to be playing Coventry at another time. We're sick of playing you, Stuart. Like, I'm not going to lie, when we got drawn against you, I wasn't thrilled at all. Not in the one bit slightest.
No, we weren't either, mate. It was a little bit of a damp squid on that one. Mark, what are your earliest memories of the FA Cup? Because you're about the same age as me, so obviously 1987. Did you go? Was you allowed to go? Because I wasn't.
Yeah, my earliest memories were in the 2000s, actually. No, I'm joking. I think 1987, was obviously the very earliest. I was very, very young back then. And then that was from Sublime to Ridiculous, where we get knocked out by Sutton United in 1989. That's obviously a pretty terrible result, obviously. We've had some, obviously, aside from that, aside from last season, we've had probably a quarter-final appearance, didn't we, in I think, 97. I think we got knocked out by Sheffield United.
Yeah.
And obviously we've had some pretty rubbish years where we lost to the mighty Worcester City, and there's been some pretty rubbish. So we've had some good runs and some terrible runs, haven't we, really? It's been a bit of a mixture. I think going back to the FA Cup question, the point that James was making, I don't like the fact that there's no replays. I think it's bad. It's certainly bad, not so much for clubs like ourselves, but I think, you look at clubs like...
For the lower leagues.
The Tamworths, for example, they've got Tottenham Hotspur, and they probably would have liked to replay had that happened. Or, I just think I don't think it's great for the game. I think that's a decision that benefits, in particular, the Premier League clubs. I don't like 6 o'clock kickoff, as you said at the start. I think it's bad for the game. Again, it's to appease the overseas broadcasters. I think that's completely wrong. I think it should be a 3 o'clock kickoff. I also think on a wider scale, there's just so much football on TV now, isn't there? If you look back into the 80s and 70s, there's only like one match on. One match on. So I think the nostalgia has gone the FA Cup. But just going sort of back to the question, I still love the FA Cup, and I think as a Coventry fan, we've had some really good memories and really unhappy memories. A bit of a mixture, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, it has. I said on James's podcast that I've just done a minute ago, it has taken... I still want there to be magic, but it's getting harder and harder each year to try and get that magic, to feel that magic. When you are, obviously we went to Wembley in the semi-final. For me, I still think that the final should be just the final. You shouldn't have the semi-final there either. Yes, it was great going, but I still think that it should be one game there, and that should be the final game. What are your thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, I totally agree. I get the reason behind it. It's money in it, and Wembley want or the FA want more money from that regards. But it does devalue it to a certain extent. Having said that, I know obviously you got to Wembley the season before in the playoffs and everything, but had it been somewhere else, you wouldn't have been at Wembley because you didn't get through to the final. So there is that aspect to it. But I do, as a fan, I wouldn't be that annoyed if if we had to play at, I don't know, Old Trafford or the Emirates or somewhere like that. There's plenty other big stadiums out there that the semi-final could be played at if it has to be a neutral venue that would suffice for it. It doesn't have to be at Wembley. I agree with you.
Yeah. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's partly because the fact that obviously when Wembley got rebuilt in the early mid-2000s, that I think the FA were conscious of putting as many games they could at Wembley to pay back the cost of building the stadium as well. So I think that's probably the motivation behind it, but also, as you say, money to get. I mean, I like the old days where it was the semi-finals were played at an Old Trafford or Villa Park, or even. I think even Hillsborough might have had a semi-final. I think at one point, if memory serves me right. But just any neutral ground is for me. It's just making with the fans maybe close to the pitch, just things like that. I think it creates a really good atmosphere. But of course, it's all money motivated.
Yeah, of course it is. But let's move on to the game then on Saturday. Obviously, we're playing you again. You beat us in the league 2-1. 2 silly late goals in either half. It was just ridiculous. We went 1-0 up, Jack Ridoni. And, again, like I said, you scored 2 late goals in either side of the half. How do you feel about going into Saturday? Because you must be, out of the 2 sides, I feel that you must be the happier of the 2 sides because your form's okay. Danny Roll, is at the moment is the Messiah, isn't he? He can't do anything wrong at the minute. How are you feeling going into Saturday's game, James?
Yeah, it's just great that it's not kind of Saturday, Tuesday, which it has been over Christmas. I know it's great from a fan's perspective, but some of the players do look a little bit tired. So going into this one, as much as I feel like we'll field a fairly strong side, I think there will be quite a lot of rotation. So it does depend on who gets the nod. You alluded to the form there. We're playing all right. We're getting some results, but it is very inconsistent in that it's win 1, lose 1, draw 1, and just rinse and repeat that all the way through. Since we lost in the derby against United, we have had pretty favourable fixtures. To be honest, it hasn't been many against sides like in the top 6, top half. There's only been a few. It's been very much teams that are bang out of form. There was only really Blackburn and Borough that we've played in the last probably 10, 12 games. There actually been any decent sides. Having said that, we haven't just kind of steamrolled them all and beaten everyone. We have thrown a few away, silly goals that we've conceded. That has been the theme this season. I mean, you look at if you're a neutral, if next week, if you want a game to watch and you're not watching Coventry, I mean, I think we're on ITV, aren't we, next week against Leeds on Sunday? Put us on, you're bound to see goals. I'll just read, 2-2, 4-2, 3-1, 3-3, 2-0, 3-1. Like, look, honestly, it's like 4 or 5 goals in every single game, and I couldn't really tell you which net they're going to be in. That's what it's been like. I mean, the only saving grace, we've conceded goals for a long, long time, but we're starting to score some now, which is mad because you feel like when I've been watching them, we have missed some big chances, and we say like we need a striker, but I've just reeled off there. We've scored. 10 goals in the last 4 games. So it's really exciting from that point of view, but also really frustrating as well, especially when you hit the woodwork 3 times and miss a penalty in our last game and don't come away with all 3 points.
Yeah, but when Windass can score goals like that, kiddo, you don't need much else, do you?
Not really. That was a fantastic goal. Honestly, I
What
don't
a
even.
goal.
I was sat on the north stand, so I'm sat. The goal went in at the away end. I sit kind of closest to the cop, so I had a great view of it. Not gonna lie, I wasn't telling him to shoot. Probably the opposite when he picked it up, because 9 times out of 10, I'll probably go as far as saying 99 times out of 100, those sorts of shots never come off. But he's a man in form. He's confident. I think that he is. He backs himself. He backs his. He's confident in his own ability. He said pre-season that he feels like when he's fit, he's the best number 10 in the league. Whether other fans agree on that, I'm not too sure. But when you've scored, well, he was 5 in 5. He didn't score against Millwall last time out. But when you're scoring that number of goals, he's got 10 for the season as well. And he doesn't play as you mentioned, he's not a striker. He's not an out-and-out striker. He's playing in that number 10 role. So. Yeah, he's why not? If you can't back yourself, then you can't really expect anyone else to do that. But yeah, it was a great strike, fantastic goal, better than Beckham's, if you ask me.
It was further out. It was definitely further out. But yeah, we'll mention him now. I was going to come back and mention him a little bit later because he is one of my ones to watch if he starts. Because, like you said, he has been in good form. We was linked with him in the summer. And I think it was a bit of a coup for you to get him to sign a new contract and stay with you, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Do you know what? Josh Windass does split opinion on the fan base, which I know sounds mad. I think it's more to do with his demeanour and the way that it comes across. He's a lovely bloke, loves football. He'll watch football all the time. He's a football nut. Obviously, working well with Danny Röhl at the moment. He seems to be getting the best out of him. I think as a fan, you just want everyone to to kiss the badge, to celebrate the fans and do all that sort of stuff. Doesn't really do that. And that does kind of get people's back up a little bit. He's got a pretty poor injury record. I don't think he'll mind me saying that. This season he stayed fit and he's now got 10 goals. So I think he's starting to kind of win some fans over. The thing is, he's behind Barry Bannon, probably the best technical player that we've got. The things that he does, not necessarily skill-wise, I just think from a reading and knowing the game, he puts himself in the positions that he needs to be put in. There's certain games where you feel like he's not done a great deal, but he'll just pop up and score you a goal. And at the end of the day, that's what you want from your players. Like I said, he has been linked with various different clubs over the years. He has stayed with Wednesday. You don't see much loyalty in football, but we've got a few players, Josh Windass being one of them. I've mentioned Barry Bannon, another that have stuck by us through thick and thin, and we've had some great memories with him. The goal, the diving header against Barnsley in the playoff final being one of them. The goals he scored against Newcastle in this round of the FA Cup, the third round, that was a great game and a great evening. So yeah, we have got some great memories with Josh. He's been linked with Santos in Brazil.
I know, I saw that.
What's all that about? I mean,
that was after the goal, though, weren't it? That was after his goal.
Yeah, there is a link there. He's the manager of Santos. Was his manager at Rangers when he was there.
Right, yeah.
So there is a bit like that. But I've looked. I mean, do you know what? If he wants to go to there, I've looked at the beaches. It looks a lot better than Hillsborough Park. So if he wants to go over there and have a pina colada, then be my guest.
Fantastic, Mark. Any questions for James at the minute, mate?
Do you think Roll will make many changes this game on Saturday, or do you think he'll go with a strong 11?
I think he will make quite a few changes, to be honest. In the Carabao Cup, he did exactly the same. We have got players that are fringe players, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our starting 11 are looking a little bit tired. We have had injuries as well, which hasn't helped. Marvin Johnson was rested against Millwall, but we brought in Max Lowe not really as a player to, well, in my opinion, not to replace Marvin Johnson or even as cover. I think they were both supposed to play kind of an even sort of number of games. They've both been forced into playing pretty much every single game this season, which it started to take the toll on him. Marvin Johnson's 34, 35 years old, I think he is now. Especially when you're asking a wing back to to bomb up and down, and then also get back and do your defensive duties. So I think we will see some of the younger kids perhaps play, and I mentioned, as I mentioned, some of the fringe players at the moment. I mean, one player who will probably definitely start. He did actually start the last game, but Ike Ugbo, he's a different man, but not in a good way, because he scored. He was hit a purple patch when we signed him on loan last season. He's yet to score this season after we signed him for $2.5 million, and he missed a penalty. We got a penalty at 1-0 up against Millwall. Windass has got it. Windass did miss his last penalty this season as well. Bannon made the call to give it to Ugbo, which at the time seemed a great idea. He skied it. I think the ball's still carrying on going at the moment. He went that high over the bar. It was an awful penalty, but he's devoid of confidence. You can't buy a goal at the moment. So you will see him play, I think, on Saturday, because it's a prime opportunity, to get a goal, and hopefully he can kick on. But no, to answer your question, I feel like we will make a whole raft of changes on Saturday.
Well, if there's ever a team to score against when you're not in form, it's definitely Coventry City at the minute, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it is at the moment. Yeah, I'm still not over Norwich defeat, to be honest. I'm still fuming about that game.
I know. We'll talk about that on another podcast, mate. Yeah,
but no, we don't keep any clean sheets. So yeah, there's probably an opportunity with Sheffield Wednesday to score again. But yeah, I guess all I can say from our point of view, it's like Sheffield Wednesday, it's a free hit really. It doesn't really matter if you lose. You've got the league to look forward to, which is not really much to look forward to as a Coventry fan at the moment. But I don't know what your thoughts, Stuart. I don't think I think we'll make some changes, but I don't see a whole raft of changes being made. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see if, for example, Raphael comes into the team, or maybe even the bench, or coming off the bench. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Raphael will come into the side. I'm more interested to see who he rates as fringe players, really, and who he doesn't. Because Tavares has been on the bench for the past couple of league games, hasn't come on. Even when Sakamoto got injured, he decided to go for Raphael for 5 minutes. So if Tavares doesn't start or doesn't come on against Wednesday on Saturday, I feel that he's going to be going in this window. And if not this window, he'll definitely go in the summer. It obviously means that Lampard doesn't rate him, doesn't like him. So I don't kind of see the point in even being on the bench if he's not going to be in, if he's not going to get a chance in a game like against Wednesday. Just because, like you've mentioned already, it's a free hit. But yeah, Raphael, obviously Kai Andrews now has gone out on loan to Motherwell in Scotland. So obviously he won't be on the bench. I can't, like you said, I can't see a raft of changes. It'd be interesting to see about the goalkeeper, whether he just keeps Dovin in goal and ticking over nicely, or whether he makes a change there. Hadji Wright and Mason Clark still aren't available, so they won't be there. So will it be Asante, Bissett or Sims? Again, there's a few options that he's got, because we've got to start getting these players in a little bit of form, because at the moment they're just too inconsistent, aren't they, really?
Yeah, I think with the attacking players, I think it's a Hobson's choice at the moment, because no one's scoring goals. No one's put their hands up to say, pick me, because at the moment, I think Bassett's got 2 goals. Ellis Sims got 2 goals. I don't even think Asante scored a goal in the league. I don't think. I could be wrong.
No, it was just the one against Spurs, weren't it, in the Cup, I think?
Yeah, that's right, in the League Cup. So that's a concern. I think on the goalkeeping front, I'd like to see Dobbin stay in the team, because he hasn't had a lot of games this season, so I think he should continue. I'd like to see Kitchen and Thomas at the back this game. Obviously, they know each other in the Barnsley days. I thought they did okay in the main when they played the 3 with Latti, but I would like to see those 2 start.
Obviously, he went to a back 3 for the game against Norwich. Do you think he'll change formation for this one and go with a back 4?
Yeah, I think so, because I think Norwich was set up to be compact, to try and to be fair, the tactics did work at Norwich in fairness, but I think being the home side, I'd like to see like to be a bit more attacking personally, so I'd go 4 at the back. I think he'll probably revert to his 4-5-1 trusted formation that he likes to go with three midfield, two wingers and a striker up front is what I think he'll do.
Okay.
But as I say, I don't think there'll be huge raft of changes. I think there may be 2 or 3 changes from the usual sort of lineup that we put out. Yeah, I think it's a game that it's definitely winnable, but it's also a game we can lose as well because we just don't know. We just don't know what Coventry City side turns up at the moment.
No,
Lampard's record speaks for itself: 3 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats. So
yeah,
that's the league anyway. So obviously there won't be any draws in this game, but I think if what James was saying earlier about the raft of changes that Wednesday are making, I'm hoping that might play into our hands. That's me being positive anyway.
Yeah. Give us a score prediction then, Mark.
Well, I do like to sit on the fence, and I kind of will do, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 extra time win for Coventry City.
Okay, fair enough. James?
I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for us. I know we're going to make a load of changes, but I feel like it's they'll probably see this as a chance to stake a claim for playing in the league. And most of our fringe players have played quite a bit this season as well. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go for a confident 2-0 win and break that unbeaten run that you've got at the CBS this season.
Well, hopefully we continue our unbeaten run off and we make it 6 unbeaten at the CBS. I think we will. I think we'll have just enough. If you're going to make the changes that you've mentioned, James, I think we'll have a little bit too much for you. I mentioned on your podcast, I've gone 2. So my head says we'll win 2-1. My heart says we're going to absolutely annihilate you 4-0. So we'll see which ones. But like I said, we'll end up probably losing, to be fair.
If you do, that'll be great for us. You had your cup run last season. You don't need another one. They don't come that often, so you can let us have a go this time around.
Well, you never know. This Coventry team, like Mark just said, you never know who's going to turn up. So you might get your chance yet. Hopefully not, but you might. Right, before I do let you go, can you just let us know where we can find you, James, and what you do?
Yeah, so it's the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms. We're on YouTube as well, so you can search for us over there. And on all the socials, it's at WTRD Pod. We do a pod on a Sunday evening talking about the game from the weekend. So yeah, I presume if you beat us, you'd probably love to come and gloat on Sunday evening. So do join us. If we knock you out, I'm not expecting too many Coventry fans joining us. But yeah, every Sunday evening, 8:00 on YouTube.
Fantastic. Obviously, we will have you on when it's closer to the league game, and obviously we'll talk about the league stuff then anyway, and we'll look back at your first one that we did with the questions, and we'll recap anything, see if anything's changed. And obviously, by that time as well, the transfer window will be closed, so we'll know who we've got for the rest of the season as well, if you've made any signings. Are you expecting any, by the way?
No, the January transfer window, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, is just called January because nothing happens whatsoever. Danny Rill was asked the other day, any signings in the any irons in the fire, so to speak. He just said no. And I don't know whether that's just his poker face or not, but no, there's a fans forum next week where we can speak to the chairman. I'm sure that'll be a hot topic because we're in a good position at the moment. He needs to put his hand in his pocket. If we get some new additions in there, you never know. We could be flirting with the playoffs. It sounds mad me saying that, given where we were last season, but that is the nature of the Championship. It is where it's a poor league. I do feel this season, and I feel like we've got an opportunity to capitalise on it. I feel like we're not going to do that. We're not really going to sign anyone in this window, but you never know. Stranger things have happened.
They have indeed, Mark. We're expecting a busy January, I think, aren't we? With obviously Lampard, who's in now, and he's going to want to bring his own players in. We've been linked with about 5 or 6 already this window. We'll probably get none of them over the line, and it'll be some obscure person from Turkey that we get in or something. I don't know. Because that just feels like the way that things are going this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Frank Lampard's got money to spend. I think that's the question. We did spend quite a bit of money in the summer, so I'm a bit sceptical about it really, because obviously clubs tend to inflate prices in January. So I think the best time to buy would be in the summer. So I'm taking everything with a pinch of salt. I'm kind of like a James. I think it's just a January month for us, and that's it. I don't see any comings or goings. But if someone comes in with a suitable offer, someone like a Ben Sheaf, probably say I'd probably be tempted to take it with his injury record, because I don't think we've seen the best of him this season. But I suppose some people would say be careful what you wish for. But
that's right.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one, that one. But I think my head tells me I don't see any activities comings or goings this January.
Okay, well, that's Mark sitting on the fence again for once.
Yeah.
Right, so on that note, thank you very much, James, for joining us. I know you've got to shoot off because you're doing another show at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's much appreciated. Like I said, we'll get you on when it's closer to the league game as well.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks, mate. Yeah, so you know where you can find us, guys. We are available on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. Join us for our Twitter space at 9 o'clock over on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. At 9 o'clock, we'll be discussing, obviously, the Sheffield Wednesday game. We'll be discussing the Norwich game that we've had, and we'll be discussing the next league game as well, which has eluded me. What's the next league game?
Bristol City.
Bristol City, thank you. Just gone out my head. So we'll be discussing that as well, amongst other things as well, with signings and whatever else. So please join us on the X Space. Please go and like and subscribe. And if you don't watch us and you just listen to us on podcasts, please go and rate us 5 stars on the podcast if you listen to us as well. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications, and we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar and the Sky Blue Tavern. Thank you very much. Play up Sky Blues.
Play up Sky Blues.